Hi viewers, I am Jay Swami, Assistant Professor of Zoology, Government Degree College for Women, Nalgonda. Today we are going to discuss the general characters of chordata. General characters of chordata includes the specific features of chordates and the other characters, additional characters which are present in the chordate organisms. Basically, chordates are highly evolved organisms with the various specific features. They have evolved during the beginning of Paleozoic era, and later on they show great diversity in their structure and form and developed up to the characters mammals like the human beings. Now we will see the basic features of the characters of the chordates. The meaning of chordata is chorda represents the notochord, the structure which is present dorsally, the body of chordates, which is a gelatinous rod-like structure, which we will call them as notochord or chorda dorsalis. Those animals which bear chorda, notochord, they are known to be as the chordates. Chorda means notochord, dorsal notochord or chorda dorsalis. Eta means bearing. Those animals which bear the dorsal notochord, they should be treated as the chordates. For the first time in 1880, Balfour was the scientist who established the phylum Chordata. Balfour in 1880 established the phylum Chordata. Bateson was the scientist in 1884 included the Hemichordata also in this phylum. Bateson was the scientist included the Hemichordata, the organisms like the Balanoglossus. They were included under the phylum Chordata. But in 1959, Hyman was a scientist. She did not agree with him and regarded hemichordates as the non-chordates. She did not agree to include all these hemichordates with the chordates. So she included them under the non-chordates. So there are of about over 65,000 species are existing within the different classes of phylum Chordata. The range may be from sea squirts to human beings. Sea squirts from Protochordata like Herdmania, that is from the Eurochordata to human beings, mammals, various animals. So that is, there is a great diversity in the range. The small miniature animals like the sea squirts and also the human beings, highly evolved organisms like the human beings were also included under the chordates. The largest representative of the entire phylum Chordata is the Balanoptera musculus. Balanoptera musculus, it is commonly known as blue whale. It's commonly known as blue whale. The largest representative of the phylum Chordata is Balanoptera musculus. Maybe it grows to the length of 35 to 40 meters and the weight may be 120 to 150 tons. The length may be 35 to 40 meters and the weight may be 120 to 150 tons. This is the largest representative of the phylum Chordata. And see, when we will take into consideration a particular organism, how do we consider a particular organism as the chordate or the non-chordate? Whenever we consider a particular organism as the chordate, that should contain the following four features. The following four features, right? Apart from the four features, the first one is the notochord or chorda dorsalis. Notochord or the chorda dorsalis. So just now we discussed that those animals which have the dorsal notochord or chorda dorsalis, that should be considered as a chordate. Apart from the notochord, there are other features which include dorsal tubular nerve cord, pharyngeal gill slits, and the tail, post-anal tail. So these four are the salient features of the chordates. These are the four salient features of the chordates. Those animals which have the dorsal notochord or chorda dorsalis, dorsal tubular nerve cord, pharyngeal gill slits, and post-anal tail, that should be considered as the chordate organism. Let us see, for example, we are the human beings included under the class Mammalia of the phylum Chordata. Whether all these four characters are present in the human beings or not, let us check. First, see the dorsal notochord. It may be present in the early embryonic development, and the location where actually the notochord is present, that may be compensated by the evolvement of the vertebral column. And coming to the dorsal tubular nerve cord, it is present as, it may be modified into the brain and the spinal cord. And coming to the pharyngeal gill slits, most of the times we will see in the aquatic chordates. Most of the aquatic chordates, they have the pharyngeal gill slits, and they may be meant for either for the respiration or for the filter feeding, food capturing mechanism. Okay, and we are the individuals, the respiratory organs are the lungs, right? So that there are no pharyngeal gill slits. And if you observe the presence and absence of the tail, in the human beings there is no tail. Not only the human beings, many organisms, they may not possess the tail. Whenever the pharyngeal gill slits and the post-anal tail, if they are not present, how the human beings may be considered as the chordates? So the question may be rectified, or doubt may be rectified by, there is a statement where all these four characters, they may be present during some stage of the development of the individual. Let us assume we are the individuals where we possess all these four characters: dorsal notochord, dorsal tubular nerve cord, pharyngeal gill slits, and the post-anal tail. All these characters may be present at the early embryonic developmental stages. So just now we discussed that pharyngeal gill slits are not at all seen, and post-anal tail, it may not be seen in the individuals like the human beings. Then they may be present at any stage of the embryonic development of the human beings. Then we will consider that, we will conclude that the human beings, they possess all these four characters at any stage of the development of the individual, so that the human beings are also considered as the chordates. Right? These are the four features which make the individuals as the chordates. Then we will see one by one. We will discuss one by one all these four characters. See, this is the typical chordate organism. Typical chordate organism. Let us see the four features where they are located. See the yellow color, gold color line, which is dorsal notochord or chorda dorsalis. And the blue color line, this represents the dorsal tubular nerve cord. First one is the notochord, second one is the dorsal tubular nerve cord, and these are the pharyngeal gill slits. Number 3, pharyngeal gill slits, and this is the anus, post anal tail. So this is the fourth. A typical chordate organism consists all these four characters, that is dorsal notochord, dorsal tubular nerve cord, pharyngeal gill slits, and the tail. So then this organism to be considered as the typical chordate organism. So those animals which have all these four characters, then they will be considered as the chordates. See the characteristic features of the notochord. Just now we have seen here, this is the dorsal notochord, light gold color line. So this is the dorsal notochord. It is a elongated structure, gelatinous elongated structure, but it is showing the elasticity. It is showing the elasticity. It is located just below the. It is located just below the dorsal tubular nerve cord. This is the dorsal tubular nerve cord, just below the dorsal tubular nerve cord, and above the alimentary canal. And above the alimentary canal. It is a rod-like stiff structure, but it shows the elasticity. And the second thing is, it is located below the dorsal nerve cord and above the alimentary canal. And during the embryological development, it may be originated from mesoderm. It may be originated from mesoderm. First one is the structure, how it looks like. Second one is the location, where actually it is get located, just below the dorsal nerve cord and above the alimentary canal. And the third one is the origin during the embryological development, how it may be get originated. It may be get originated from the mesoderm. It may be originated from the mesoderm, right? And it is made up of vacuolar or vacuolated cells. The stiff elastic rod-like structure, the notochord, made up of vacuolated cells, and it is covered by two sheaths, an outer elastic membrane and an inner fibrous notochordal sheath. It is covered by two sheaths, an outer elastic membrane and the inner chordal fibrous sheath. See, this is the internal structure of the dorsal notochord. Dorsal notochord. See, this one is the black color line is the dorsal notochord. If we make a section of the dorsal notochord, it is covered by two sheaths. So these all are the vacuolar cells. These all are the vacuolar cells. Now these cells are surrounded by two membranes. These are surrounded by two membranes. This is the one membrane and this is the another membrane. Right? Now it is covered by two sheaths, an outer elastic membrane and an inner fibrous notochordal sheath. And what is the fate of the notochord in all the various kinds of chordate organisms? Right? In the urochordates, it may be confined to the tail region and it will be visible only during the larval stages. What is the fate of notochord in the urochordates is the notochord only limited to, confined to tail region but not present all over the body. It is only confined to tail region and it is seen only during the larval stages, not in the adults. Whenever, if you observe the cephalochordates, in the cephalochordates, it may be present throughout the life and extended from anterior to posterior portions of the body. Along the length of the body, we will see the dorsal notochord and it may be present throughout the life. And whereas in the case of higher chordates like the fishes, amphibians and the reptiles, higher chordates like the fishes, amphibians and the reptiles, it may be present in the embryonic stage. It may be present in the embryonic stage and it will be replaced by the vertebral column in the adult. That is, in the adults, the notochord may not be seen. Where actually the notochord is get located, that place may be occupied by the evolvement of the vertebral column which surrounds the spinal cord. Right? Then in the mammals, highly evolved chordates like the mammals, the notochord may be persist as the series of disconnected thickenings that is called as nucleopulposi. Nucleopulposi, which is located in between the intervertebral discs. That is, in the mammals, highly evolved chordates like the mammals, the dorsal notochord may be present as the nucleopulposi, which is located within the intervertebral discs. That is, the vertebrae which are present in the mammals, which are amphiplateous type. These amphiplateous type vertebrae get separated from each other by the presence of the series like structures which are called as the intervertebral discs. These intervertebral discs possess the rudimental structures of the notochord within the form of nucleopulposi. Nucleopulposi. Right? In the urochordates, it is confined to the tail region and only visible in the larval stages, whereas in the cephalochordates, it may be present throughout the body and throughout the life. And in the higher chordates like the fishes, amphibians and reptiles, it may be present in the embryonic stage, but it may be replaced by the vertebral column in the adult. Whereas in the case of highly evolved chordates like the mammals, that is, the notochord may be present as the nucleopulposi within the intervertebral discs. So this is the fate of the dorsal notochord. Then what is the function of the notochord? It gives proper shape and the strength to the body of the individuals. It gives a proper shape and the mechanical strength to the body of the individuals. That is, while we are studying the dorsal notochord, if it is appeared as a question in the examination, we have to write point wise. First one is the status of the notochord. It is a rod like structure which is stiff but exhibits the elasticity. And then location, that is the dorsal notochord present above the alimentary canal and below the dorsal tubular nerve cord. And the third one is the origin we have to write. It is originated from the mesoderm. Then go for the internal structure. It is covered by the two membranes. Okay, and then fate of the dorsal notochord. How it will be seen in urochordates, cephalochordates, right? Fishes, amphibians, reptiles, and the mammals. These things to be written in the examination, and also we should remember apart from the examination, competitive examination point of view. Then coming to the second structure, where we will see the dorsal tubular nerve cord or simply nerve cord. Dorsal tubular nerve cord or nerve cord. Now the same points to be repeated, the side headings to be repeated. First one is the status of the dorsal tubular nerve cord. It is a tubular, fluid filled and non-ganglionated structure. In the early stage, it is a tubular, fluid filled and the non-ganglionated structure. This is the first point. Status of the dorsal tubular nerve cord. And second point to be discussed is the location, where actually it should be located. That is, just now we have seen the structure. See here, this is the notochord, just now we have discussed. This is the dorsal tubular nerve cord, the above structure. Just now we discussed, this is the dorsal notochord and above that. So that is the location where we will see it is a tubular structure and fluid filled structure, non-ganglionated structure, right? So what is the location? It is located above the dorsal notochord. It is located above the dorsal notochord, right? And coming to the origin, whenever we have the development of the embryo, so there are three germinal layers in the triploblastic animals like the chordates, and the dorsal notochord evolved from the mesoderm, just now we discussed, whereas the dorsal tubular nerve cord, it is evolved from the ectoderm. It is evolved from the ectoderm. We should remember, dorsal notochord evolved from the mesoderm, whereas the dorsal tubular nerve cord, it may be emerged from the ectoderm. We should remember that. Then it is made up of neurons. So in future it may be developed into the brain and as well as the spinal nerve cord, so that it is made up of neurons. Then the fifth point should be, what is the fate of the dorsal tubular nerve cord in various chordates? Let us discuss right from the urochordates. In the urochordates, like that of the dorsal notochord, the dorsal nerve cord also, it is confined to the tail region and seen during the larval stages only. It may be degenerated in the retrogressive metamorphosis, and it may be seen like a vestigial structure like the neural ganglia. Neural ganglia. Then coming to the cephalochordates. In the cephalochordates, the nerve cord may be present throughout the life and along the length of the body like that of dorsal notochord only. And in the case of vertebrates, in all the vertebrates, it enlarges and differentiated into anterior brain and posterior spinal cord. It is differentiated into brain and the spinal cord in all the vertebrates. As usually, the brain is protected by cranium and the spinal cord protected by the vertebral column. The brain covered by the brain case, which is called as the cranium, and the spinal cord covered by and protected by vertebral column. Both the cranium and the vertebral column, they may be made up of either the cartilage or the bone. They may be formed by cartilaginous structures or the bony structures. And finally, what is the function of the nerve cord? So, after the differentiation of brain and spinal cord, the main and the important function which is mediated by the nervous system is nerve impulse transmission. So, all the things which have been performed by the nervous system are said to be as the nerve impulse transmission. This is the second salient characteristic feature which is called as the dorsal tubular nerve cord. Right? So, just now we have seen this is the notochord and this is the dorsal tubular nerve cord. And the third structure is the pharyngeal gill slits. Pharyngeal gill slits. Let us see the pharyngeal gill slits. These are the small slit-like openings which are present behind the head and on either side of the pharynx. These are small slit-like openings just present behind the head on either side of the pharynx. What the slits will do? They connect the pharyngeal cavity with the exterior. Pharyngeal cavity with the exterior. For example, this is the fish. Right? And this is the pharynx. This pharynx is connected to the exterior through the gill slits. Here there are the pairs of gill slits are there. They connect the exterior environment with that of the pharyngeal cavity. And how they may be formed. They formed by the in-pushings of the ectoderm of the body wall and out-pushings of the endoderm of the pharynx. Let us see. This is the ectoderm and this is the endoderm of the pharynx. Upper one is the ectoderm of the body wall, inner one is the endoderm of the pharynx. Let us assume. So, what is the statement? In pushings of the ectoderm of the body wall, like this, in pushings. Whereas out pushings of the endoderm of the pharynx, like this. So, thereby we will see the small pit-like structure on both the sides. They form the gill pouches. They form the gill pouches. Then afterwards, the membrane which is present within the gill pouches, that may be cleaved off, ruptured off, and thereby they fuse to form the gill slits. So all these gill slits are present in all the vertebrates, but they may be seen or present at some stage of their life history. During the lifetime of the individual, right from the embryonic development to the death of the individual, so at any stage, at some stage, they may be present. In all the vertebrates, they are present at some stage of their lifetime. Then see the fate of the pharyngeal gill slits. In urochordates and cephalochordates and the lower aquatic vertebrates, the pharyngeal gill slits persist throughout the life and are functional in aquatic respiration. If you observe the urochordates like the Herdmania, okay, cephalochordates like the Amphioxus, and the lower aquatic vertebrates like the fishes. So in all of them, they are the main respiratory organs. So they persist throughout of the life because the respiration is a main metabolic activity which facilitates the survival of the organism. Then in some of the amphibians, they also persist throughout the life, while in others, they occur only in the larval stages. In terrestrial vertebrates like the reptiles, aves, and the mammals, they occur briefly during the embryonic development but are functionless and disappear in the adults, so that we may not have the human being. Just now we discussed that at the starting of the topic. So we are the individuals, we have the gill slits but in the embryonic developmental stages but not in the adults. And what is the basic function of the gill slits is filter feeding and the aquatic respiration. So this is the third characteristic feature of the chordates. Then coming to the fourth important character, that is the tail. So first one is dorsal notochord, second one is dorsal tubular nerve cord, third one is pharyngeal gill slits, and the fourth one is tail. See the structure again, the point wise. It is a muscular structure. It is a muscular structure. And see the location. It is located posterior to the cloaca or the anus, so that we call them as post-anal tail. Call them as post-anal tail. See here, we have taken the tail of the snake. This is the chordate organism. So whenever we have drawn a diagram of the snake like this, you may not come to a conclusion that where actually tail starts. So most of the times we may think the narrowed body part at the end of the body may be considered as a tail. For example, right from this region or this region or this region. Then how do we consider the tail is where actually the anus or the cloaca is present. The posterior part of the cloaca or the anus to be considered as the tail. For example, this is the fish, let us assume. Okay, most of the people they think that this is the tail region. After the line, this is the tail region. This part is considered to be as the tail region. But as the students of zoology, we should know here there is a anal pin which protects the anus or cloaca. So the portion right from this region to be considered as the tail, not only this part. That is the post-anal tail, the posterior portion of the body of the anus to be considered as the tail. So we should remember that. So here it is the anus covered by the anal plate and the entire region to be considered as the tail. Okay. and it may be absent in some adults. Just now we discussed there is no tail at all in the human beings and many other organisms. Okay, and the other features of the tail are coelom is absent in the tail. Coelom, there is no coelom at all. Within the tail, there is no coelom at all. So, what are the things that form the tail? Are various kinds of muscles, spinal cord, and that may be covered by the caudal vertebrae, which forms the vertebral column. So, there is no coelom at all. There is no coelom at all. Okay, that is, tail is the muscular structure which is located post-anally or post-cloacal region, and it may not be seen in some of the adults. Coelom is absent, but muscles, spinal cord, and the vertebrae, caudal vertebrae, the vertebral column which is made up of caudal vertebrae, are present within the tail. So these are the 4 salient features of the chordates which make an individual as the chordate. Those animals which possess all these 4 characteristic features, they should be considered as the chordates. Along with all these 4 characters, we may also see some additional characteristic features. Additional chordate characteristics. What are the additional chordate characteristics? That is, these are the animals which shows the symmetry. Chordates exhibit the symmetry. Basically, in the diploblastic animals, they exhibit radial symmetry, and chordates are the triploblastic animals, so that they exhibit the bilateral symmetry. What is the bilateral symmetry? That is, the body of the animal can be cut into 2 symmetrical halves passing through the center, that is, through the one antero-posterior axis only. For example, let us assume a fish. Let us assume a fish like this. If you cut the fish like this horizontally, vertically, it may not be cut into 2 equal halves. But if you cut the fish in antero-posterior direction, this is the anterior end and this is the posterior end. If you cut the fish in this direction, it may be divided into 2 equal halves. 2 equal halves. So that they exhibit the bilateral symmetry. Bilateral symmetry. The symmetry which is seen in the chordates is a bilateral symmetry. And coming to the metamerism. Metamerism is nothing but the segmentation of the body. In the chordates, the body of chordate exhibits the linear segmentation. Linear segmentation. But it may not be visible externally. The segmentation is not seen externally. In the case of fishes, the segmentation is seen in the arrangement of myotomes. Among the more evolved vertebrates like the other organisms, the segmentation is seen in the arrangement of vertebrae, in the vertebral column and the spinal nerves. And the vertebrates exhibit the heteronomous internal segmentation. But the segmentation is clearly seen in the embryonic development, although it is confined to the parts of muscular, skeletal, and the nervous system. The metamerism clearly visible in the invertebrates like the annelids, we will see in the earthworm. Otherwise, in the other arthropods, the body segments will be clearly visible. Like that, the segmentation may not be seen in the chordates. That is, segmentation is present, but it is internalized. External segmentation is not at all seen and it is confined to some sort of the organs systems like the muscles, skeleton and the nervous system. So we should remember that there is a linear segmentation but is not at all seen externally. And coming to the third character, triploblasticity, that is they have developed from the three germinal layers. Three germinal layers, that is outer ectoderm, inner endoderm and the middle mesoderm. Outer ectoderm, inner endoderm and the middle mesoderm. Those animals which have the three germinal layers during their embryonic development, they should be considered as the triploblastic animals. And the fundamental mark is all the triploblastic animals, they show the bilateral symmetry. Bilateral symmetry. Triploblastic animals that exhibit the bilateral symmetry. And coming to the next character, coelom. What is the coelom? That is, for example, if you observe a typical chordate organism, so this is the alimentary canal, starts with the mouth and ends with the cloaca or anus, right? And the cavity in between alimentary canal and the integument. The cavity in between alimentary canal and the integument is known as the coelom. In the triploblastic animals, as we know, they are starting from the platyhelminthes to chordates. The platyhelminthes also, they are the triploblastic animals, but there is no coelom at all. The entire coelom may be covered by or filled up with the mesenchyme. They are acoelomates. Whereas in the case of nematohelminthes, a false coelom is seen, that is the pseudocoelom. And the right from the Annelida to the phylum Chordata, phylum Annelida to the phylum Chordata, all these animals, they exhibit the coelom. True coelom is seen. And apart from the organisms, right from Annelida to mollusca, we will see the schizocelic type of coelom, where in the case of Echinodermata, Hemichordata and chordates, they possess the enterocelic type of coelom. Enterocelic coelom. True coelom is present, okay, and it is enterocelic type of coelom. It is formed from the outpushings of the archenteron through enterocelic method. Okay, the coelom which is formed in such a way, that is called as the enterocelic coelom. Right? Then coming to the skeleton system, and the next point is the skeleton. Most chordates have an endoskeleton. It increases in size along with the body. It permits easy movements of the body. The endoskeleton is made up of either the bone or the cartilage. The skeleton which is present in the chordates, most of the times this is a endoskeleton which made up of either the bone or the cartilage. Right? Then coming to the next point, that is heart and the circulatory system. Circulatory system is well developed and it is closed type of circulatory system. Closed type of circulatory system, that is the blood flows in the blood capillaries. So that it is called as a closed type of circulatory system. And the heart is well developed. It may consist, based upon their development, the heart may consist one chamber, two or three, finally 4-chambered heart may be present. However, how many chambers may be present, but it is myogenic type of heart. There are two kinds of hearts, neurogenic and myogenic. Neurogenic heart, the pacemakers which starts the heart contraction and the relaxation, that may be initiated by the neural ganglion, where in the case of cardiacs, the heart is myogenic type. Special muscle fibers are present located in the atria, otherwise auricles, and the intra-auricular ventricular septums. They are called as the AV node and SA node. Sino-auricular node and the auriculoventricular node. They may start the heartbeat. They acts like the pacemaker, so that the heart is known as a myogenic heart. Whereas in the invertebrates, the heart may be neurogenic. Right? Next one is the excretory system. It may be formed from the pronephros, mesonephros or metanephros, and the excretory products are the ammonia or the urea or uric acid based upon their metabolic activities and the availability of the water. So one pair of kidneys may be present, either they may be of pronephros, mesonephros and the metanephros. Then coming to the deuterostomic nature. So based upon the formation of the mouth and the anus, otherwise the fate of the based on the fate of the archenteron or blastopore, the organisms may be divided into two kinds, protostomes and the deuterostomes. In those organisms, the archenteron or blastopore may be formed into the mouth first. They are the protostomia. Whereas in the case of deuterostomes, instead of mouth, in the deuterostomia, anus may be formed first, later on mouth forms. So, secondary formation of mouth. Otherwise, first the archenteron evolved into the anus and followed by the mouth. That is the deuterostome nature. That is, during the development of the blastophore of the gastrula, that may be developed into anus instead of mouth. Hence, chordates are considered as deuterostomes. And if you observe the physiological aspects, the muscle phosphagen. The muscle phosphagen is the material which provides energy during the muscle contraction. In all the invertebrates, arginine phosphate or phosphoarginine, arginine phosphate or phosphoarginine is the muscle phosphagen. Whereas in the case of chordates, phosphocreatine is the muscle phosphagen. Phosphocreatine is the muscle phosphagen. Whereas in the case of invertebrates, phosphoarginine is the muscle phosphagen. Then finally coming to the cleavage. So what is the cleavage? The divisions which may take place during the early embryonic development, they should be considered as the cleavages. The cleavages here are radial and indeterminate cleavages. Radial and indeterminate cleavages. That is, in the early embryonic development, the zygote that undergo radial and indeterminate cleavage and tend to develop into the final adult organism, otherwise the infant. Then in today's class, we have discussed the four salient features of the chordates. They are dorsal notochord, dorsal tubular nerve cord, pharyngeal gill slits and the post-anal tail, followed by additional characters like the triploblasticity, bilateral symmetry, right, and as well as the segmentation, circulatory system, excretory system, and the muscle phosphagen which is responsible for the muscle contraction during various movements and the kind of cleavages which are seen during the early embryonic development. By this, we will conclude these are the general characters of the chordates. Thank you, one and all.